Welcome back to Game-Based Learning in the World Language Classroom, the why, what, and how. We're still on section 3 of my book, The How. I'm Madame Sensei. I teach Spanish, French, and Japanese to high schoolers out here in the beautiful Pacific Northwest. If you want to talk to me about these games, if you want to help me tweak them for the World Language class, find me on the Minecraft Education Ambassadors or the Minecraft Teachers Lounge, the Duolingo Educators Network, hanging out at Roxem, or studio-nemo.com. We're still talking about sports that you can bring into your classroom. I ran over time last time. I apologize. I'm trying to keep things to 10 minutes. But in our previous episode, we talked about sumo, we talked about boule, pétanque, we talked about l'escrime, we talked about dancing. And so we're going to continue. I would be remiss if I did not mention how culturally appropriate soccer is for many countries. Soccer comes from association football, the association. The British people think they're so funny. They abbreviated association as soccer. That's how we got that weird word soccer, even though it's the game you play with your feet. So, yeah, take your kids out and play soccer with them. And teach them all the body parts that they need. And teach them how to scream goal. All right, let me tell you about broom hockey. So, remember, I'm in a portable. My portable's actually right over here. These are my colleagues' portables. But we've got this nice long little stretch of parking lot between us. And I was like, hey, hockey is very important to Quebec. And I've got some students who are very into hockey. So I'm going to make a unit all around hockey. Going to teach them all the words they need to know. Going to make it totally culturally relevant. And I went down to the dollar store and I bought 30 brooms. And I have my tennis balls. I took some tennis balls out, and with chalk, I drew goals on the ground. And this was a complete and total failure. The brooms, I swear, they did not last 2 rounds. They were totally devastated, totally broken, didn't have anything for my later classes in the day. The students were just too rough on them. So, live and learn. I'm mentioning this so that just to show you that sometimes, despite all of our best intentions, we fail. And part of being a teacher is being flexible and rolling with the punches. It's just the name of the game. This was very fun, though. This is Jankenpon. Okay, so my Japanese students needed to work on katakana. Katakana is this kind of angular writing system, and they needed to work on katakana. We'd already looked at McDonald's menus. We'd already looked at all these borrowed words and everything, and Pokemon was really huge, absolutely huge. And I was like, yeah, okay, let's do some Pokemon, because I love these names. They're hysterical. They're really funny puns usually, and this is going to be really good practice because all the kids know the Pokemon names, but they know them in English, and they're totally different in Japanese. But they recognize the characters, so I can make that association there. Okay, I'm going to tell you that this is a sport. You're not going to think of it as a sport, but boy, oh boy, it's a sport. It gets so competitive. Here's me as a young girl able to sit seiza. Oh, look, my hair's on my face. Here, I'll show you. Here's a picture of me playing Go, okay? My hair's not my face there. You can see how young I was at one time. This game is so competitive, all right? This is Jankenpon. And in America, we play rock, paper, scissors, and the students are going to put their hand out on shoot. But I have to retrain them because their muscle memory is rock, paper, scissors, shoot. But actually, it comes out on Jankenpon. On pon, that's when you make the fist or the scissors or the paper, okay? So I had to reteach them that muscle memory, which is fun enough to do that, okay? But it's a really complicated, fast game, actually. So you go super fast, Jankenpon, and then whoever wins super fast has to say Aiko desho. And this is you're going to point in a random direction, and the person who has lost tries to look in any direction but the direction that you're pointing in. All right. Now here, I actually won like 5 rounds in a row because none of my friends were used to going that slow. I was so slow. I was Jankenpon. And they weren't used to going slow because they hadn't gone that slow since preschool. So, I hunted up some videos for my students to see just how fast it was, and I found some of the really competitive videos, the really extreme with an X videos, okay? So what happens there is you do the Jankenpon, you do the Aiko desho, and then there's a third section where whoever has lost has to quickly grab a bucket and put it over their head, and whoever has won grabs a stick and hits them with it. Just ignore my mouse going too far down. That hits them with this stick is like kendo, okay? Well, I didn't want my students killing each other, so the first couple times we did this, I took out my pool noodles. That was still a little bit too violent for them. So we were working on katakana, and Pokemon, very popular, and I'm like, oh, we need a Pokemon contest. Oh, it's going to be Jankenpon. Okay, but instead of grabbing a bucket and a stick, I made 2 decks of cards. I made 1 red and 1 white. So whoever wins the Jankenpon, they're going to grab a red card, and the red cards are all the easier names. Okay, the one who's lost grabs a white card, and those are the harder names. And they have to read out the names, and if the person who drew the white card reads it out properly, they're still in the game. And if they read it out properly before the red card, they're still in the game. But generally, the red card has an advantage because they won the round, right? We all sat Seiza on the floor. I moved all my tables out of the way, and then we did the same kind of round robin style that we did for the sumo, where the winner of the round stays where or moves forward or stays where they're at, and then the loser moves back in line one place to fight the loser of the other round. So it works out that way. I used to be a professional translator many years ago before I became a teacher, and one of the things I worked on was Ranma Nibu no Ichi, and there was a scene in it where Ranma had been captured by a bad guy, and he was being forced to move uncooked rice as fast as possible from one bowl to another. Okay, and it's uncooked because the cooked rice, of course, gets really sticky, and it's easy to eat with hashi, easy to eat with chopsticks, but hard if it's like Uncle Ben's converted rice. That's nuts. You can't eat with chopsticks. Okay, so I got that idea from that, and so I have my students come in, they sit Seiza, and I give them a bowl, and I give them beans because beans are much easier, and I'm teaching them how to use hashi. All right, so they can count as they move them over, and they have a little race with each other, and they learn how to say bean, they learn how to say chopstick, they learn how to count. It's great. Twister is pretty physical, right? We used to do this a lot pre-pandemic. Post-pandemic, the students have been kind of skittish about it. They don't like touching each other. They don't like being in each other's personal space. And so I set it out as a station, but we don't play it the way we used to. But I thought I'd throw that in here because we're talking about physical games. Okay, now just to sum up everything, I just want to mention an anecdote. Over the summertime, I teach health. Why do I teach health? Well, because I'm told that nobody's interested in studying a language over the summer. I want to teach Spanish for the workforce over the summer, but I'm told there's not much call for that. Are you serious? But anyway, I teach health, and I like to teach, so this is fun. This is a great, fun class to do. And it's a health class, right? So I feel like, well, part of health is like doing activities. That's pretty healthy. So I had an activity plan for each day. Some days it was maybe one of the games from my language class. Maybe it's boule. Maybe it was some dance from one of my language class. Maybe it's just some other game that my sister, the PE teacher, taught me. Fun stuff. And on day 3, maybe 3 years ago, on day 3, I heard 2 of my students just talking about cricket. There was a big cricket match coming up. And so I walked up to them and I bent down and I said, "Bring your bats tomorrow." And they were like, "Really? Really?" I'm like, "Yeah." So I had them teach the class how to play cricket. And it was amazing. For the next 10 days, because it's summer school, it only goes 13 days long. For the next 10 days, 29 kids could not get enough cricket. I had other games planned. No, they wanted to go outside and play cricket. I had the star baseball pitcher from one of the rival schools was one of my students, and it was just amazing to me to watch the light bulb go on over his head as he, like on day 5, he suddenly figured out the muscles he needed to use for cricket, and just the light bulb went off and he dominated the game, and it was just amazing. And there was another girl who came up to me after, like, last day of school, after it's a 13-day long class. So the very last day she comes up and she says, I'm the worst Indian in the world because I've never played cricket before this, so thank you so much for letting us do this. But I mean, like, I only had a couple of students of Indian descent in my classroom, and everybody loved this game. And I was really amazed at how injecting just a little bit of culture that was relevant to some of the students, completely new to most of the other students, just that little bit of culture really made my summertime class sparkle. But I have to tell you, the most golden moment was when I came up to bat and I said, okay, show me how to do this. Obviously, this was before I broke my leg, right? The students were so amazed that this old lady who doesn't walk well, because I didn't walk well before then, this old lady is like, yeah, teach me how to play. I want to learn. And I just want to remind you that modeling is one of the absolute best ways to teach. I would never ask my students to do something that I wouldn't do myself. And the students felt like I really cared, which I do, and putting yourself in the game, it's just so important for making connections with your students, for showing a growth mindset and a can-do attitude. Hey guys, I don't know how to play cricket. Show me how to play. Demonstrating that you value the game. Hey, this game is important to me too. I'm not asking you to do something that is busy work. I'm asking you to do something important. Modeling how to play. Finally, being in the fray shows you where the students are tripping up. It's going to show you where they're having trouble, where they're trying to game the system, which is good a lot of times. Where do your students need more support? Okay, so whatever game you do, put yourself in it. That's my advice. And again, I've gone over 10 minutes. I apologize. Next episode, we're talking about completely different types of other games that don't fit into any of my other categories. Hope to see you there.